The basement door had been locked for 3 days. Inside, 78-year-old Naya Helms was dying, and her own son had put her there. But when 12-year-old Ryan discovered the horrifying truth, he made a desperate decision. He ran to the most dangerous-looking people in the neighborhood, the bikers. What they found in that basement would change everything. And when they discovered who locked her there, even these hardened warriors were horrified. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and unseen connections that change lives, please like this video, comment your thoughts, and where you're watching from, share it with someone who needs it to stay motivated, and subscribe to our channel, Kindness Arena. Your support keeps these powerful, true stories alive. The padlock clicked shut with a sound that would haunt Ryan Helms for the rest of his life, though he didn't know it yet. He stood at the top of the basement stairs, a glass of water trembling in his 12-year-old hands, staring at the locked door. His father had installed the padlock 3 days ago, claiming there were valuables down there that needed protecting. But Ryan knew every inch of this house. The only valuable thing in that basement was Grandma Naya. 3 days. It had been 3 days since he'd seen her. The house felt wrong without her presence. No smell of her famous apple turnovers. No sound of her humming old gospel songs while she tended her tomato plants on the back porch. No warm arms pulling him into hugs that smelled like lavender soap and safety. His father, Jason, sat sprawled on the living room couch, surrounded by empty whiskey bottles. He'd been fired from the factory 6 months ago and moved back into Grandma Naya's house, supposedly to take care of things. But the only thing Jason seemed to take care of was draining every bottle he could get his hands on. "Dad," Ryan's voice cracked. "Can I take Grandma some water?" Jason didn't even open his eyes. "She's fine. Leave her be." "But it's been 3 days. I said, leave her be." Jason's eyes snapped open, bloodshot and wild. Then, seeing the fear on his son's face, he softened slightly. She's being punished, Ryan. She needs to learn respect. I'm a man of this house now." Ryan's stomach twisted. Punished? Grandma Naya was 78 years old. She'd raised Jason by herself after Grandpa died. She'd opened her home when Jason lost everything, and this was how he repaid her. That night, Ryan waited until his father's snores rattled through the house. He'd watched where Jason hid the key in the old coffee can under the sink, the same place Grandma used to hide emergency money. The basement door opened with a groan that seemed to echo through the sleeping house. Ryan held his breath, waiting. The snoring continued. He grabbed the flashlight from the kitchen drawer and descended into the darkness. The smell hit him first, damp, musty, and something else. Something wrong. "Grandma," he whispered. A weak sound came from the corner. Ryan's flashlight beam found her, and his heart nearly stopped. Naya Helms sat propped against the concrete wall, her silver hair matted and tangled. Her usually bright brown eyes were sunken, and her lips were cracked and bleeding. She'd always been a sturdy woman, proud and strong despite her age. But now she looked like a shadow, like something was slowly draining away everything that made her Grandma Naya. "Ryan," her voice was barely a whisper. "Baby, you shouldn't be here." "Grandma." He rushed to her side, nearly dropping the water. She grabbed it with shaking hands and drank so desperately that water ran down her chin. "What did he do to you?" "He's sick, baby. Your daddy's really sick." Tears cut tracks through the dust on her weathered face. "He took my savings. Every penny I had hidden away. Drank most of it already. When I tried to stop him, tried to call the police." She gestured weakly around the basement. "This is where I ended up." Ryan felt something hot and fierce rise in his chest. "I'm getting you out." "You can't, sweetheart. He's stronger than you. He'll hurt you too. Then I'll get help." Ryan's mind raced. Who could he call? His mom had left years ago. He had no other family nearby. The neighbors were elderly, afraid of Jason's temper. The police? Jason always said cops didn't care about people like them. Then he remembered. The bikers. 3 blocks away, in Riverside Park, there was a group that met every weekend. Ryan had seen them countless times while riding his bike, big men and women with leather vests, motorcycles gleaming in the sun. They looked scary, but he'd once seen one of them help an old man change a tire. Another time, they'd raised money for a sick kid in the neighborhood. The Iron Brotherhood, Grandma Naya had once told him, watching them ride past. Don't let the leather fool you. Some of those folks have bigger hearts than people who go to church every Sunday. I know who can help, Ryan said, but I need you to hold on until morning. Can you do that? Naya squeezed his hand with what little strength she had. You be careful, baby. Your daddy. He ain't the man I raised anymore. That bottle changed him into something else. Ryan locked the basement door again, replaced the key, and lay awake until dawn, planning. Saturday morning came with gray skies that threatened rain. Ryan told his father he was going to the park to play basketball, and Jason, nursing another hangover, barely grunted in response. Ryan pedaled his bike faster than he ever had, his heart hammering against his ribs. What if they didn't believe him? What if they thought he was just some kid making up stories? What if they called the police and it made everything worse? Riverside Park sat at the edge of their neighborhood, a sprawling area with basketball courts, a playground, and a large pavilion where community events were held. The Iron Brotherhood always met in the far corner lot, their motorcycles lined up like metallic soldiers. Today, about 15 bikers were there, standing in a circle, drinking coffee from thermoses, their breath forming clouds in the cold morning air. Ryan recognized the man who'd helped with the tire, a massive figure with a gray beard, tattoos covering both arms, and a leather vest that read Tiny across the back. The irony of the nickname of a man who stood at least 6'5" wasn't lost on Ryan. He dropped his bike and ran toward them. Several bikers turned, hands instinctively moving to their waists, a protective gesture Ryan didn't understand. Help, he shouted. Please, I need help. My grandma. She's locked in a basement. The circle parted, and a woman stepped forward. She had steel-gray hair pulled back in a tight braid, sharp blue eyes, and a scar running from her left ear to her jaw. Her vest read Marlene, President. Slow down, kid. Her voice was firm, but not unkind. What's your name? Ryan. Ryan Helms. My grandma, Naya Helms, lives 3 blocks from here on Porter Street. My dad locked her in the basement 3 days ago. She hasn't had food, barely any water. Please, she's really sick. Marlene exchanged glances with Tiny and another biker, a lean man with long dark hair and snake embroidered on his vest. Your dad locked his own mother in a basement. He's been drinking. He stole her money, and when she tried to stop him, Ryan's voice broke. Please, she needs help now. Snake knelt down to Ryan's eye level. His face, despite the hard edges and scars, held unexpected gentleness. Kid, this is serious stuff you're telling us. Are you sure? Because if we go over there and find out this is some kind of prank or family argument. I saw her. Ryan's voice rose desperately. She's dying down there. Her lips are all cracked, and she can barely talk, and she looks like she's not even there anymore. Marlene held up a hand. Tiny, call Martinez. She looked at Ryan. Officer Martinez is a friend. He rides with us sometimes. We're going to do this right by the book. But first, she turned to the group. Church, tank, roadblock, you're with me. Snake, Tiny, get your bikes. Kid, you're riding with a tank. A stocky black man with kind eyes stepped forward. That'd be me. Don't worry, son. We're going to help your grandma. Within minutes, 5 motorcycles roared to life. Ryan climbed onto the back of Tank's bike, his arms wrapped tight around the man's waist. He'd never been on a motorcycle before. Under different circumstances, it would have been the most exciting thing that ever happened to him. The ride to Porter Street took less than 3 minutes. The bikes pulled up outside the small, run-down house that Ryan called home, their engines creating a thunder that brought neighbors to their windows and porches. Jason stumbled out onto the front porch, squinting against the morning light. What the hell is this? Marlene dismounted and walked up the path, her boots heavy on the cracked concrete. Are you Jason Helms? Who's asking? Jason's eyes found Ryan, and they narrowed with anger. What did you do, boy? Mr. Helms, we've received information that Naya Helms, your mother, is being held against her will in your basement. We're here to check on her welfare. Jason laughed, a harsh sound without humor. This is my house. My mother. You got no right. Actually, a new voice called out, we do. A police cruiser pulled up, and Officer Martinez stepped out. He was younger than Ryan expected, maybe 30, with the Iron Brotherhood logo tattooed on his forearm visible when he pushed up his sleeves. Jason Helms? I'm Officer Martinez. We've received a report of elder abuse and unlawful imprisonment. I need to see Naya Helms immediately. This is bullshit. Jason's face reddened. She's my mother. I can do what I want in my own house. That's not how the law works, Martinez said calmly. You can let us in voluntarily, or I could get a warrant in about 20 minutes. Your choice. Jason looked at the bikers, at the cop, at the growing crowd of neighbors. His shoulders slumped. Fine. She's in the basement, but she was being disrespectful, interfering with. Save it for your lawyer, Marlene said coldly. Where's the key? Ryan ran past them all. Under the sink, in the coffee can. The group descended into the basement like an army. When Marlene's flashlight found Naya, even these hardened bikers, people who'd seen violence and hardship, inhaled sharply. Jesus Christ, Snake whispered. Naya tried to sit up straighter, tried to compose herself, to maintain the dignity she'd carried all her life. But she was too weak, too broken. Marlene knelt beside her with surprising gentleness. Ma'am, my name is Marlene. We're going to get you out of here. Can you tell me your name? Naya Helms. Her voice was reed thin. My grandson, Ryan's safe. He's the one who got us. Bravest kid I've ever met. Marlene looked up at Tank. Call an ambulance. Now. Tank was already on his phone. On it. Church, a quiet man with silver at his temples, had been examining Naya carefully. I was a combat medic, he explained. Ma'am, I'm going to check your vitals, okay? His hands were gentle as he pressed his fingers to her wrist, studying his watch. Pulse is weak and rapid. She's severely dehydrated. Probably hasn't eaten in days. We need to get her hydrated slowly. Too fast could be dangerous. Roadblock, the youngest of the group with bright red hair and freckles, pulled a water bottle from his jacket. Got this. Should we? Small sips. Church instructed. Tiny. See if there's any crackers or bread upstairs. Plain, nothing heavy. As they worked to stabilize Naya, Officer Martinez documented everything with his body camera, the locked door, the conditions, and Naya's state. Upstairs, Jason ranted about his rights, about how the system was against men like him, about how his mother had disrespected him. Ryan sat beside his grandmother, holding her hand. I'm sorry I didn't come sooner. Hush, baby. Naya's eyes, though sunken, held fierce love. You saved my life. You did exactly right. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Ambulance is here, Tank called down. Let's get her upstairs. Tiny, living up to his ironic nickname, bent down and lifted Naya as if she weighed nothing, cradling her like a child. Got you, ma'am. You're safe now. As they brought her into daylight, the neighborhood had gathered. Old Mrs. Patterson from next door, the Jenkins family, the students who always used to buy vegetables from Naya's garden. They stood in a semicircle, hands over mouths, some crying openly. The paramedics swarmed immediately, loading Naya onto a stretcher, starting in 4, checking her vitals with practiced efficiency. Sir, how long has she been without adequate food and water? One asked Officer Martinez. At least 3 days, possibly longer. We're taking her to Mercy General. She's in bad shape. I'm going with her, Ryan said firmly. Jason, handcuffed now and sitting on the porch steps, looked up. Ryan, don't do this. I'm your father. Ryan stared at him, this man who was supposed to protect him, supposed to be a hero. You locked Grandma in the basement. You stole her money. You're not my father. I don't know what you are. Kid, Jason started to rise, but Martinez pushed him back down. Save it. You're under arrest for elder abuse, unlawful imprisonment, and theft. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Marlene put a hand on Ryan's shoulder. Tank will take you to the hospital. We'll make sure someone stays with you and your grandma. Ryan looked up at these strangers who'd dropped everything to help. Why? Why did you help us? Marlene's hard face softened. Because that's what we do, kid. The world thinks we're outlaws, rebels, troublemakers, and maybe some of us were once. But we take care of our own, and right now. Your neighborhood is our own. At the hospital, Naya was rushed into emergency care. The doctor said she was severely dehydrated, malnourished, and had developed a dangerous infection from the conditions. But she was strong. She was a fighter. 3 weeks later, Naya Helm sat in her living room. Color returned to her cheeks, fire back in her eyes. Ryan sat beside her, finishing his homework while she worked on a quilt. The house was different now. The locks had been changed. A social worker visited regularly. Jason was awaiting trial, facing serious charges that would likely put him away for years. The judge had issued a restraining order. He wasn't allowed within 500 feet of Naya or Ryan. A knock at the door made them both look up. Ryan opened it to find the entire Iron Brotherhood standing on the porch, motorcycles lining the street. "Ms. Naya," Marlene said, holding a casserole dish. "Hope we're not intruding. Brought you some of my famous lasagna. And I made cornbread," Tank added, grinning. Naya's eyes filled with tears. Come in, all of you." They filled her small living room. These leather-clad warriors, sitting on every available surface, passing around coffee and cookies that Naya had baked that morning, her first batch since the rescue. "How are you holding up?" Snake asked gently. "Better than I have any right to be," Naya said. "Thanks to all of you and my brave grandson." She pulled Ryan close. "The court appointed me Ryan's guardian." Jason signed over his rights rather than fight it. I think he knew he'd lost himself. "Any word on him?" Church asked. "He's in a treatment program. Part of his plea deal. I don't know if I can forgive what he did, but—" Naya paused, choosing her words carefully. "I can. I hope he finds his way back to the man I raised, even if he can never be part of our lives again." Marlene nodded. "That's real strength, Naya. Not many could say that." "Speaking of strength," Tiny rumbled, "we wanted to talk to you about something." Roadblock pulled out an envelope. The club took a vote. "We've been doing fundraisers, raffles, benefit rides, that kind of thing. Managed to recover most of what Jason stole from you." He handed her the envelope. Naya opened it and gasped. Inside was a check for nearly $10,000. This is too much." "It's what was taken," Marlene said firmly. "Plus a little extra. Consider it back pay for all those vegetables you've been giving away to neighbors for years. Mrs. Patterson told us you never charged her once, even when you needed the money yourself." "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll come to our Memorial Day barbecue," Tank suggested. "Both of you, as guests of honor." Ryan looked at his grandmother, at these unexpected heroes, at the community that had formed around their trauma and tragedy. "Can we, Grandma?" "I'd be honored," Naya said, her voice thick with emotion. As the afternoon wore on, stories were shared. Tiny told them about his own mother, who died alone in a nursing home while he was in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Snake spoke about his nephew, who'd been taken by the system because of addiction. Church described his years in combat, seeing families torn apart by war and violence. Each of them had been broken. Each had been rebuilt, piece by piece, by the brotherhood they'd found. "That's what the club is really about," Marlene explained to Ryan. "We're not just motorcycle enthusiasts. We're people who know what it's like to be invisible, to be judged, to need help and have nowhere to turn. So we became that help for others." As evening fell and the bikers prepared to leave, Naya pulled Marlene aside. "I can never repay you." "You already have," Marlene said. "You raised a grandson brave enough to ask strangers for help. You taught him that family isn't just blood, it's the people who show up when you need them. That's worth more than gold." At the door, Ryan hugged each biker goodbye. When he reached Tiny, he looked up at the giant man and said, "I want to be like you when I grow up." Tiny laughed, a deep rumble that shook his whole body. "Then be kind, kid. Be strong. Stand up for people who can't stand up for themselves. That's all any of us are trying to do." After they left, Ryan and Naya sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and purple. "Grandma," Ryan asked quietly, "do you think Dad will ever be okay?" Naya was quiet for a long moment. "I don't know, baby. Addiction is a monster that takes people we love and leaves strangers in their place. But I know this, we can't save people who don't want to be saved. All we can do is protect ourselves and hope they find their way back. I miss who he used to be." "Me too." Naya pulled him close. "Me too. But we have each other. And we have friends now. Real friends who saw us at our worst and decided we were worth fighting for." In the distance, they could hear the rumble of motorcycles, the Iron Brotherhood. riding through the neighborhood on their evening patrol, watching over the streets like guardian angels in leather and steel. Ryan thought about that day 3 weeks ago when he'd ridden on the back of Tank's motorcycle, terrified and desperate. He'd thought bikers were dangerous, people to avoid, rebels without a cause. Now he knew better. Sometimes the heroes don't look like heroes. Sometimes they have tattoos and scars and pasts they'd rather forget. Sometimes they ride motorcycles and wear leather and look like the villains in storybooks. But heroes are defined by their actions, not their appearance. By who they help, not how they look helping them. And on that terrible morning when a 12-year-old boy needed help, when a grandmother was dying in a basement, when evil wore the face of family, the heroes showed up. They always do. 6 months later, Ryan stood on a small stage at Riverside Park, accepting a certificate from the mayor. The Young Citizen Award, she read, for exceptional courage in protecting a vulnerable member of our community. The crowd applauded. The Iron Brotherhood, all wearing their dress vests, stood in the back row, cheering the loudest. Naya sat in the front row, healthy and strong, tears of pride streaming down her face. Jason watched from a computer screen at the state correctional facility where he was serving his sentence. He'd written to Naya once, a letter full of apologies and promises. She'd read it, cried, and then filed it away. Maybe someday she'd answer. Maybe not. Some wounds cut too deep for easy healing. After the ceremony, Ryan joined the Brotherhood at their bikes. Marlene handed him a small package wrapped in brown paper. "What is it?" "Open it." Inside was a leather vest, child-sized, with Iron Brotherhood, honorary member, embroidered across the back. Below it, in smaller letters, Ryan Helms, the brave one. Ryan slipped it on, feeling its weight, its meaning. He looked at Marlene with shining eyes. Really? You're one of us now, kid. When you turn 18, if you still want in, you've got a place with us. Until then, you're our brother in spirit." Tank ruffled his hair. "Besides, somebody's got to carry on the tradition when we're too old to ride." "I'll never be too old to ride," Tiny grumbled, making everyone laugh. As the sun set over Riverside Park, casting long shadows across the grass, Ryan stood among his new family, blood and chosen, broken and rebuilt, scarred but stronger for it. He'd learned that evil could wear familiar faces, that heroism could come from unexpected places, that family wasn't always about blood, but about who showed up when the darkness closed in. And he'd learned that sometimes the scariest-looking people have the biggest hearts. The motorcycles roared to life, a symphony of power and promise. Ryan waved as they rode off into the sunset, knowing that wherever he went in life, whatever challenges he faced, he carried their lessons with him. Be kind. Be strong. Stand up for those who can't stand for themselves. That was the code. That was the way. That was what heroes did. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness is never wasted and that even broken path can lead to the beautiful places and change of lives, please like this video, share it with someone who needs a little hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Arena, because your support keeps stories like this alive and spreading. Tell us in the comment what you would have done differently if you were Ryan in order not to expose your father. Or has a stranger's kindness ever changed your life in ways you didn't expect? We'd love to hear your story.